Can you get in close on this one here? That's exactly what we want there. Does that make sense?
Beautiful.
Welcome to a space where healthy food not only makes you feel good, it warms your heart and soul with love. Learn how to turn local organic produce into mouth-watering meals that nourish your body and soul. This is the art of cooking from the heart.
So there's many fun things that you can do with these mushrooms, similar to what you do if you used to eat steak or used to eat pork or chicken. You can do the same things with mushrooms because they not only have, as you can taste, kind of a meaty flavor, but also meaty texture. So there's many things that you can do with them, which we're going to show you with the lion's mane mushrooms, which is on our menu now at Giving Tree Cafe. So we're going to put the marinade together real quickly right now. Does everybody have the recipe for this in front of them? You don't have to. I mean, one of the things about these recipes is you don't have to really follow along, but they'll come in handy later. If you just watch me and kind of see what I'm doing, then it'll be easier when you have to put it together to see how easy this is. So we just diced up the onions here really quickly. And you probably have all done cilantro before, but I'm going to show you what I like to do. I like to just put it in a ball, and then you kind of very thinly shave it. And it doesn't take very long, and you can do a whole bunch of cilantro that way. And you get a whole bunch done in, certainly less than a minute, maybe 30 seconds here. Now with this particular marinade, because it's going into a taco, you want your onions and everything to be diced very finely. You don't want big chunks because it wouldn't work then with what you're doing. So you always want to think about your end result and then do it that way. Does that make sense? This is all the dry ingredients that you saw in there, the cayenne pepper and the cumin and the red pepper and the coconut aminos, olive oil and lime juice. And then my water. We've had severe supply chain issues with really good olive oil, and you might too. You can get really good olive oils from California, which is better than, less supply chain issues than Europe. But as you know, California's been underwater for a month. I mean, they've got issues there too. So I think it's really important to use extra virgin, cold pressed, and then you can get whatever brand you like. And they have it everywhere, as you know. I've already washed these peppers off. I told everybody last time I've got a bunch of seeds, including pepper seeds. If anybody wants some, just let me know. If you're starting your own garden or think it's time to start your own garden because of supply chain issues, let me know. I've got a bunch of seeds here. We use tomatoes and peppers and acorn squash and other types of squash here on a real regular basis. And these seeds might be currency for tomorrow if things continue on the trajectory they're on, you know what I mean? We don't have to get real fancy here. We're just going to put, like I said, a very thin slice here because it's going into a marinade with the tacos. Always want to be really careful with your knives. If you use a knife this way, it's virtually impossible to cut yourself because my fingers are never underneath the blade. Does that make sense? So if you keep them that way, you'll never get hurt. So we're going to just put a little water in here. And then with the lion's mane, what we do is isn't this gorgeous? Have you all worked with this before? You can't really get it in the stores, which is a shame, but I think if enough people ask for it, you'll be able to. So Lindsay's going to peel this off for us while I talk to you more about that. What they've done here is they've cut away the lion's mane from the host mycelium, and so there is a little bit of mycelium here, but just a small amount, just actually enough to keep it together, and it's perfectly edible and it's delicious, and so we're going to use that too. There's nothing wrong with it at all. And we just want these little kind of bite-sized pieces here. And Lindsay's our restaurant manager. She knows an awful lot about what we're doing here, and I would really be lost without her, and pretty much my whole staff, if you don't mind me saying. We're the only restaurant in all of Maricopa County that uses iodine as their disinfectant. It's a legal disinfectant. It's on the list of the 4 legal ones. 99% of the companies use chlorine bleach, which is fine. It's the one that's the quickest, it's the most powerful, and it's the cheapest, so that's why restaurants want to use it. It also goes into our waterways and is destroying our coral reefs and our oceans and our rivers. So I like to think about what we're doing here and then the impact of what we're doing going forward, and I know you all do as well. And so those are things that we want to pay attention to. It's not just the food that goes into our body, but the lotions that we put on our body and our makeup and what we put in our hair is so important. You know, do we have mercury in our mouth? And how do we wash our clothing, etc.? Are we doing it the easy, convenient way, or are we taking it a little extra step and making it sustainable for the generations coming after us? So Lindsay's going to finish, or we're going to play with this together, okay? We're going to do this together. This is my favorite part because this is the one that's going to get you fed the quickest. So we're just tearing it up, and by the way, you can use a knife if you want to. There's no rule that says you can't. We do this in the restaurant by tearing it up just because it's a little prettier, but if you want to just cube it like this, it's not going to turn out much differently as long as you're talking to it and loving it up while you're cutting it.
Do you get the same amount of nutrients if you eat it raw or cooked?
No, that's a really good question. Did everybody hear that question? You get the same amount of nutrition if you eat it raw. When you eat it raw, you get almost no nutrition. Your body actually can't digest the nutrition unless it's cooked. And all mushrooms, I want to say all mushrooms, there might be an exception, but I think all mushrooms are like that. When I first came to Phoenix, I had jackfruit mushrooms on my menu. And then I found out there's a guy in Phoenix that actually has lion's mane available 12 months out of the year. Because I was in Sedona at the time, I used to go up into Flagstaff and we would harvest lion's mane if we could find it for about 2 weeks out of the year. And that's it. But when I found out that there was somebody here that had it 12 months out of the year, I changed the menu over because, like I told you before, this is fabulous medicine. His name is Mike. He's with a company, he's the owner of a company called Southwest Mushrooms. And he's not too far from here. He's only a couple of miles up the road. And he's a fabulous human being. I'm almost getting a little choked up here because I love him so much. What he's doing for our community, it's unbelievable. The mushrooms that we have here in Phoenix, they're equal to anything in LA or New York or Portland or anywhere in the country, and it's because of Mike. These mushrooms right now are around $12 a pound, and you probably get 5 or 6 servings out of it, so it sounds like it's expensive, but it's really not that expensive, but it's one of the most expensive ones. A lot of his mushrooms are $3 and $4 a pound, which make it very, very reasonable. You can also buy the kits from him, and the kit is a brick that is about this big, and it comes wrapped in plastic. And you set up your environment so that it's very moist, and you have some way to hydrate that area and mist that area all the time, and dark and quiet. It's like kombucha. It's a living thing, and it needs to be quiet and left alone. And so you just want to make sure your temperatures and the moisture is good. And after about 10 days or 2 weeks, oh, I take that back. You poke holes in the plastic first, and then you make sure that it's kept in a nice, stable environment. And after about 10 days to 2 weeks, these things start popping out of the holes that you put in. And you can use the same brick again and again because the mycelium is the active live part. And this is the fruit. It's like the mycelium is the apple tree, and these are the apples. So you can use it again and again. It's not forever, but you can use them several times. If you've read along, you know that you want your lion's mane to marinate for at least 20 minutes, but I like it to marinate overnight. So we just made it right now. What are we going to do? I've got an idea. Look, it's tomorrow. Like I said in the literature, marinate for 20 minutes and you're fine. You can actually cook it right now and it would be fine. but you'll see the difference when you marinate it overnight like this, and you can see how the mushroom has soaked up all the nice juices here. So I'm just gonna pop this on the griddle here, and I'm gonna put a little bit in a pan so you can see how you can do it at home. Just so that you at home can see there is a little bit of oil in the pan, that's all you want. You don't want a tremendous amount. So this is the way people are going to do it at home. Normally you don't have a griddle like this, but because I'm feeding 14 people, this is definitely the way to go. And it just turned out a little nicer, and it's easier for me because I can use a spatula and get in there much more easily, much more readily. Oh, by the way, you don't want to touch it. You want to leave it here so it does kind of scorch on the bottom. You want that bottom to char. So as you can see, I'm not moving anything around, and I'm not impatient. I'm just going to let it almost get a crust on it a little bit, and then I'm going to move it around. You can see here how the liquid is evaporating off, and you can start to see how it's getting a little, see where we're at there? See how it's getting a little cooked up there? I want to let it go a little bit more. Can you get in close on this one here? That's exactly what we want there. Does that make sense?
Beautiful.
That's it. That's what we're going for right there. That's perfect. That's going to be a beautiful taco, let me tell you. We created this dish to mimic, in a lot of ways, carne asada. Now, we can visualize a world where no one eats animal products anymore, but that's not our world right now. And it's very common here in the restaurant for people to come in and they kind of drag their partner kicking and screaming because they don't want to eat vegan. And one of the dishes I tell people to try if they're new to veganism and they really like the flavor and texture of meat, go ahead and get the tacos and see what you tell me.